Hello, I'm Kara of Lady Fox Stitches. I'm a long arm quilter located in Northern Nevada. I have quite a few quilts to show you today, so let's jump right on into it. The first quilt I have to show you today is from my customer Sharon. This is a beautiful quilt that she's made using solid fabrics. Let me hold it up for you to start off with so you can get a good look at it. I think this is the, oh, it goes this way. Just want to hold it right side up for you. So here's her quilt. It's this really fun star block pattern. This pattern is called Daydream and it's by Little Farm Designs. It's the same block repeated over and over throughout the quilt. And Sharon has made 3 different colorway blocks. There's a light block, there's the medium block over here, and this one in the middle here is the darks. Let's see, center it up for you. So it's got light, medium, and dark colors, and she's arranged those blocks throughout the quilt in different configurations with each row. It's really beautiful. I like to call it the Sherbert quilt, even though that's not its name. Let me get up close so you can see the pantograph. The pantograph that I put on this quilt is called Peak Blossom, and it's a large, like salad plate sized chrysanthemum type floral. Just kind of echoes around itself. You can kind of see the center here. And then it just echoes around and around. And it just repeats over and over, making this really nice, even texture all the way across the quilt. The batting in this one is Quilter's Dream Bamboo, so it has a really wonderful drape and fill to it. It's very lovely. It's got this nice bright white background, and that's why I chose to use glide thread in white on this particular quilt. Check out the backing. It's this really pretty bright floral, and look how well it matches those fabrics on the front. It coordinates really, really well. This is a lovely quilt. It measures, or it's about the finished size of 60 by 79, so it's a decent size quilt. And of course, where these blocks meet, it makes these cute little secondary blocks, these pink ones throughout the quilt. Let me see if I can hold one up clearly. There's one. Okay, so you can see that secondary block where the sashings meet. So very exciting. Sharon's going to love getting this back. She can get that bound and enjoy it real soon. The second quilt that I have to share with you is my Indelible quilt. This is a quilt that you've seen me make over the last several videos, and in fact the very last video was of me binding this quilt. It's kind of a tutorial of sorts. It shows my methods, my tools, and just how I do machine binding. So if you're interested in that process, definitely check out that video. But for now, I just want to explain a little bit more in detail why I chose to sew it to the front of my quilt first and roll it to the back of the quilt and then stitch it down. Many of you left me comments and told me that I do it opposite of what you do. There are a couple of reasons that I chose to do it this way. The first reason is because I want at first glance this quilt to look like it was bound by hand. There's no stitching line on that binding, and it just looks quite seamless like a hand binding does. Of course, it's not bound by hand, and there is a stitch line which you can see very clearly on the back, but on the front it's that parallel line that runs really close to the binding. The second reason for doing it this way has to do with the thread color. I chose to match the thread color that I bound with the quilting thread. In this case, it's a light gray glide thread that it was quilted with, and then it was a light gray thread which I bound the quilt in. When the thread matches the quilting, that parallel stitch line blends nicely in with the quilting and you don't notice it at first. If I were to match my thread to the binding, which would have been maybe this pinky purpley color, it would have left that stitch line in a purpley pinky colored thread, right? Which would definitely stand out against the rest of the quilting, which I didn't want to have happen. I want the stitch line to blend in with the quilting, and I want the front of the quilt to look at first glance like it's bound by hand. So that's the reason why I chose to sew it to the front first and then roll it to the back and stitch it down. I hope that clarifies the reason why I chose to do it that way. Now let's talk about the quilting on this quilt. This quilt measures, let's see, about 60 by 60, so it's a square quilt. And I chose to use a pantograph called Mod Blossom. And it's kind of these like seed pod, balloony, balloon looking kind of design where the lines spread out in the middle and come back to a point. And that of course just goes all the way across the width of the quilt. Like I said earlier, the thread color I chose is a light gray, which actually blends in pretty good with all of these different fabrics. The backing fabric, I used Tim Holtz fabrics. There's this pink map one, and then down here I added this green like botanical print, and there's a tiny little strip at the bottom of this cream colored rose print just right there at the very bottom. So there's 3 different backing fabrics here. I almost always piece my backings. That's just what I like. The batting used in this quilt is 100% cotton select, which is Quilter's Dream mid loft batting. Has a really nice drape to it. It's going to wash up beautifully. So that's this quilt. Mod Pod Pantograph, this nice modern texture all the way across, light gray thread, Quilter's Dream cotton batting. The next quilt I have to show you, I debated whether or not to wait, but I decided to show you the quilting on it, and maybe I'll show it again once it's bound. This is my Sunny Day quilt. It's that really nice big bed-size quilt. It's 97 by 97. And if you can see that pantograph, let me hold that up there for you. This is called Tread Lightly. It has meandering lines that kind of squiggle around. And then it has these buttons or bubbles that come off of those squiggly lines. It's a pretty simple pantograph. I chose it because, first of all, I thought it matched the quilt just fine and went well with it. But it's a pantograph that I have not yet used, and I wanted to try it. This is my quilt, which makes a great canvas for me to practice on, where I can just try new things. And so that's what I did. I used a glide thread in white, and that's because of this nice bright white background. The batting in this one is Quilter's Dream 80/20. And again, it's this really nice drapey quilt. It's very large. It's quite hefty because of just the size of it. Not because it's, a heavy quilt. It's just large. And so there's a lot of fabric to manipulate and hold up. But it turned out really great. I like this pantograph a lot. I actually enlarged it quite a bit because of the scale of the quilt. The quilt has these quite large blocks, and then of course it's quite a large quilt, and so I scaled up the pantograph to try to balance out the size, the quilt, the blocks, and the pantograph. Tried to make that all kind of coordinate. The backing is 3 different prints of black and white. So we have this large grid fabric. And then in the middle, there's this nice white with black polka dots. And then at the bottom of the quilt, I will show you if I can lift it up here. Again, it's hard to manipulate, it's so large, is a smaller plaid or buffalo check or whatever you want to call that. So it has a smaller grid on the bottom. Let me see if I can hold that up so you can get a better view of the back. I'll hold it sideways so you can see all three fabrics. So we go from the large check to the polka dot to a little band of the smaller. I'm thinking of binding this quilt in that smaller plaid. I have quite a bit of leftovers that I actually cut off when I trimmed this quilt. And so I'm thinking about using that as the binding. I'm not too sure. I'm not sure yet because it might be too big of a check for a binding, but I'll play around with that and decide. Another really cute fabric to use for binding on this would be a black and white stripe. But like I said, I haven't quite decided yet. I'm thinking about it. But we'll get that all bound and then maybe I'll show you the finished binding. But this quilt is quite large and it's been fun to make because I can put it on one of the beds in my spare bedrooms. So a great bed size quilt. Almost ready, just waiting to be bound. All right, the next quilt is from a customer. Larissa made this for one of her children and their spouse. It's another really big quilt. It's 97 inches by 105 inches. This one has not been trimmed, and so it's even more awkward and heavy to kind of lift and carry around, but I'm going to try my best to hold it up for you so you can see. This quilt is a disappearing 9 patch, and she made it using these really pretty sage green fabrics with the yellows and the dark and light pink fabrics. So a nice disappearing 9 patch. It's very beautiful, and like I said, it's quite large, so it's kind of awkward to hold up. But I'm going to bring it in so you can see the pantograph. This pantograph that she chose is called Knit 1 Purl 2, and it kind of has this like eyelet lace loops that have an echo, and it fills the quilt with lots of beautiful texture, very even all the way across the top of the quilt. She gave me batting to use that came all shrink wrapped up, and when I opened it up, it did not have a brand name. It does have a scrim, but I'm pretty sure it's 100% cotton. So that's the batting that she sent to go along with the quilt. The thread color is Glide in linen, and again, that's just a creamier neutral thread that goes really well with the tones or the values of these fabrics. It's not a bright white, but it just blends in with these nice, beautiful colors. She has a couple fabrics on the back. Here you can see she's kind of pieced her backings, mostly with, most of it is this fun sage green print with kind of a vine or a swirl on it. So it's really nice. Really, really pretty. I think her family member is going to be really excited about getting this quilt as a gift. Larissa, you did a great job. The next couple quilts I have to show you are from my local quilt shop. They asked me to quilt these up so that they could have some samples for in their store. The first one they sent me is called the Celestial Dance Quilt. Just hold this up for you. So this is a panel quilt. The center panel is this bohemian style panel. And then of course there's several borders, this patchwork border. And so that's what they've had me quilt. I'm going to bring it in a little closer so you can maybe see the pantograph. It's called Hidden Diamonds, and it's this kind of crescent moon shapes that overlap on each other, and I thought it would look very celestial, which matches the name of the quilt, right, with these kind of the sun and moon and these clouds. The fabrics used in this quilt are from the line Bohemian Sunrise, and these are QT fabrics. The quilt measures 57 by 67. The quilt shop sent warm and natural batting for me to use when I quilted this up. They used a kind of grunge backing in the color, maybe like a denim or something like that. It's kind of a nice blue colored, and that gold thread, the way it stands out on that backing, is quite lovely actually. It's not overly bold, but you can see it, and I think this pantograph, it just blends in with these busy fabrics so smoothly. You hardly even notice it on the front, but it does kind of have that sky, celestial, star vibe, which matches the theme of this quilt. The quilt kit that this is made from can be found online. My local quilt shop does not sell online, and so I will link to that kit from another online store so that if you're interested in making this quilt, you'll be able to find that. The last quilt I have to show you is also from my local quilt shop. It's one of their sample quilts. This quilt also can be found online in a kit, which I will link in the description box below. And of course, it has pictures that are from a panel that have been framed out. And I'll hold this up for you. This pattern is called Deep Blue Sea, and it uses fabrics from the line Deep Sea Dazzle. It's got these really fun ocean scenes that these blocks are made of. The pantograph on this is called Arwen. Let me see if I can, I'm going to hold it up on the backing, you'll see it better. Here we go. So this pantograph called Arwen, to me, has a seashell kind of vibe. It's not really seashells. What it's made up of is feathers that are kind of in this fan. Let me see if I can hold it up here where you can see it. The pantograph isn't really seashells, but it has that kind of aesthetic. It has these feathered fans, and then of course it has the swirl. So it kind of looks like seashells, but it's not actually seashells. It's feathers and swirls, which is a very traditional, very classic pantograph designs. So you can see it there. The thread is Glide in Mint Julep, which blends in perfectly with these nice, ocean colors. Again, you can't hardly tell there's a colored thread on there. Just blends in so nicely. So really cute group of fabrics and prints and a great little pattern. Again, I'll link to the quilt kit in the description box below. Okay, the last thing I have to share with you today is a pile of scrunchies that I have been able to make. I am headed to a youth church camp, and these are little gifts that I want to give to the young women that I will be spending the week with. They'll be able to choose a couple different ones. Hopefully everybody will find something that they like. These little scrunchies are very simple to make. I just used what's called the burrito method. I'm sure you could do a little Google search or a YouTube search to find out how to do that. They sew up really quickly. They're very easy. My husband told me tie all the elastics, so it was a little bit of teamwork there to get these finished, but I'm really excited about these. I think they're very fun and will just be a great little gift for camp. Okay, I think that about wraps it up for me this week. I'm so glad you were here with me. Remember, if you need long arm quilting services, go ahead and check out my website. That's ladyfoxstitches.com. Like I said, I'm headed off to camp really soon, which means I will have no cell service, so I'll be disconnected from the internet and phone and texting and kind of the social media world, and I'm really looking forward to getting to spend a week with some of my favorite young people. We're going to have such a great time. So until next time, keep making all the quilty things and sewing up a storm, and I'll see you real soon.